So the Bible is a collection of books written in different literary styles, like narrative, poetry, and prose. And most of us are familiar with these kinds of literature.
We all know a narrative when we see one, like The Hunger Games or The Great Gatsby.
Most people recognize poetry.
And every day, we're surrounded by prose in news articles or essays.
Now, all of these examples are modern American literature, meaning they came from this time period in this region of the world.
But there's also medieval English literature from another place and time, or ancient Greek writings from this place and time.
So each time period and culture produces its own unique kind of literature.
And in order to read the Bible well, we need to keep in mind that it comes from this part of the world and was produced in this basic period of time.
So what's unique about ancient Jewish literature?
Well, one big thing is the way it skips a lot of the details that we modern readers are used to getting in stories and poems.
Which kind of makes it seem really simple.
But actually, it's a very complex literature. Every detail that is given really matters.
And that's great. But having fewer details means the stories can have things hard to understand. I mean, take one of the first stories, Adam and Eve in the garden. Where did this talking snake come from? Why did God allow him there? Why didn't Adam and Eve die on the spot like God said they would? And who is the offspring of the woman who will destroy the snake but is bitten by it?
So many puzzles in this story, and some of these are questions that we think of, but maybe they're not important to understanding what the author is focusing on. Then again, some of these things are meant to make us think.
Won't that lead to some misunderstandings? People filling in the gaps with their own answers.
We all tend to put our own ideas onto the Bible based on where we live, our life experiences, but they apparently thought the risk was worth it. These oddities are really invitations into an adventure of reading and discovering.
What do you mean, adventure?
For example, the strange promise about the offspring of the woman crushing and being bitten by the snake. That word, offspring, is a clue to pay attention to. Genealogies, which actually run all through the biblical narrative, they trace the lineage from Eve all the way to King David and his offspring. And in the New Testament, Jesus is connected to the offspring of this royal line. Now, when you read the prophets, Isaiah connected this king to the suffering servant who would die on behalf of his people. And then, in the book of Revelation, there's this symbolic vision. And can you guess? It's about a woman and her offspring. It's Jesus and his followers who conquer the dragon by giving up their lives.
So each part of the story there has a complex and challenging concepts, but altogether it makes sense.
This is the literary genius of the Bible. It forces you to keep reading and then figure out what each part means based on other parts and how it's all connected.
This is feeling complicated. I don't know if I can do all that.
Well, you're actually not expected to notice all of this by yourself or all at one time. This dense way of writing forces you to slow down and then read carefully, embarking on this journey of discovery through the whole biblical narrative over a lifetime of reading and rereading.
Oh, okay. Meditation literature.
Yeah, and in Psalm 1, we read about the ideal Bible reader. It's someone who meditates on the scriptures day and night. In Hebrew, the word meditate means literally to mutter or speak quietly. The idea is that every day for the rest of your life, you slowly, quietly read the Bible out loud to yourself, and then go talk about it with your friends, thinking and talking about the puzzles, making connections, and discovering what it all means. And as you let the Bible interpret itself, something amazing happens. The Bible starts to read you, because ultimately the writers of the Bible want you to adopt this story as your story.
So this ancient Jewish writing style, it must create unique types of narrative and poetry and discourse.
Yes, and we'll explore all those literary styles starting next with biblical narrative.